Hello, and welcome to When They Popped. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Mary, and today we thought we would start our episode with some Y2K news for you to know because there's just a lot going on. First of all, I am getting so much on my social media feeds about the press that's leading up to the Freaky Friday release.
Freakier Friday.
Freakier Friday. The Squeakquel. Wait, what was the Squeakquel?
Oh my God, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh my God.
You love Alvin and the Chipmunks. Mary, for anyone new here, had a crush on Alvin.
I thought it was Theodore. Or was it Alvin?
I liked Theodore. You liked Alvin because he was like the Nick Carter.
Oh, right. He was like,
I liked Theodore because he was the chubby one.
He was cute too. He has grown on me. But okay, so what has been sticking out to me that I want to talk about briefly is one, I've seen a ton of clips of Pink Slip performing like at Disney and stuff. But what's like throwing me for a loop is that like Lindsay Lohan's in the crowd with Jamie Lee Curtis cheering them on while the rest of the original Pink Slip group is performing Take Me Away. And what do you think this is? Is this like she is contractually like not doing any public performances, or what do you think it is?
I don't know, but she needs to get on that stage.
It's like weirding me out. At first I was like, oh, she probably has a conflict. But then I saw there was another performance and she literally was cheering from the audience. And I'm like, this is a problem for me.
It is a problem. But like I saw a social post that there's a new song that she's on in the movie. So maybe she just wants, I don't know.
I feel like she doesn't want to perform like at Disney. Like she doesn't want to.
Right.
Like,
it's like beneath her.
Yeah, that's my guess. I hope I'm wrong. Also, this was the first time I've seen, and I think that Chad Michael Murray has like brought his children public. Like I don't think that they have ever been shown publicly before. And so it was kind of cute to see him with his whole family and his little boy and his little girl. So, and I saw a clip of him like jamming out with them, his kids, to Pink Slip in the crowd. So it was just cute to watch that. But yeah, my expectations are not super high, but I'm excited to see Freakier Friday in a few weeks.
I'm so excited too. And I've seen all the social content with Chad Michael Murray in it. And he has like his long hair. I saw one girl on TikTok who was like, I have one thing to say to you. Waiting for you is like waiting for rain in this drought. And he like gave her like a big hug. And it was just adorable.
Where was our invite to that event?
I don't know. Disney, whoever is behind Freakier Friday, like we're available for red carpet coverage with our mini mic that Chris Kirkpatrick of NSYNC himself loved.
So your loss.
Huge mistake.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
They will rue the day. So next thing is apparently Hollister is doing a retro release. What do we know about this?
So I only saw it because of Kate Steinberg. She posted on TikTok that they came out with like a capsule like 2000s collection. And it smells like stale beer and cigarettes to me at like a basement party.
Oh my God. Yes. I saw her TikTok too. It was so funny with her trying on all the clothes and just so many like staple pieces, like the jean skirt, but like it's a skirt now with shorts. Like I love it.
The things we did not have as
but
tweens.
Needed. And I'm on their Instagram right now 2 days ago that says, Hollister, you asked, we delivered a limited edition collection, 25 years in the making. You don't want to miss our 2000s vault release. Join our broadcast channel, Hollister, right now for the launch date. So it is forthcoming.
I feel like this was a long time coming for Hollister because Abercrombie has been having such a moment. And our episode topic today reminded me of the time when I was like averse to Abercrombie and it was like not cool to wear Abercrombie. And now it's cool to wear Abercrombie again. But they are really modernizing and kind of moving away from like the moose polos and everything. Whereas Hollister is just going full nostalgia.
And maybe that'll be like a segue into
a comeback for that. Yeah. Well, I remember Abercrombie used to be so funny to me because they never had the color black. You could only go navy or gray. Like you could never walk into Abercrombie and buy a black t-shirt or a black polo.
Oh my God, I didn't even put that together.
I thought about it too much as a teen.
Well, everything in Kate Steinberg's TikTok was awesome. So just excited to see that official launch. Unfortunately, I see myself buying all my clothes from back in the day. So,
Ugh, I know, like I'm buying all vintage Juicy with the original J zipper.
love it so much. The final thing I had is just we're marching ahead into weekend 3 at the Sphere with the Backstreet Boys. Each weekend is more and more painful for me to see the clips. I mean, I'm so happy everyone's there and it's having fun, but it's just the FOMO is crippling. And I mean, last weekend, it looked like they had a second amazing group of shows. We saw that AJ had the flu. I saw some videos of him. You could tell he was kind of like,
Not okay. Not
yeah,
his
like
usual self.
a little like struggling, but he really powered through. You know, I feel bad for the people that missed him at their meet and greets, but my God, you could tell he was just not feeling well. That's someone you know that is, if he can be there, he will be, you know, and so hopefully he's feeling better this weekend. Anything else we need to debrief before diving in?
I think those were the big ones. Shall we get into today's episode? I'm really excited for this one.
Yes.
Let's do it. Today, we are going to be talking about the one and only television show that took the year 2009 by storm, and that is the lightning in a bottle that was Jersey Shore. It's only appropriate because it's summertime, and you're literally spending your summer on the Jersey Shore. Let's set the scene. August 2009, MTV debuted what would become a cultural phenomenon. And I want to read an excerpt from a Vulture article, which was an oral history of Jersey Shore written by Molly Fitzpatrick to help us get back into that mindset that was Jersey Shore when the show came out. So, quote, when the MTV reality series Jersey Shore debuted on December 3rd, 2009, it quickly became a cultural phenomenon that was both beloved and despised. It followed self-described young Guidos and Guidettes, depending on who you ask, terms of Italian pride or ethnic slurs, through a raucous, boozy summer in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. They tanned, they smushed, they conquered, and more importantly, they became a family. End quote. What a beautiful summation of this television show that we are about to dissect. So let's get into it. So Jersey Shore was born originally on VH1. And I thought that was crazy because I could never see this show on VH1 back then.
Wow, I did not know that.
Right? Like I thought VH1 was always like I love the 90s. I love the 80s. And didn't they also have the fabulous life of, I don't know, the show just like would not have been a fit there. But apparently it started as a VH1 project and it was originally concepted as a competition show, but it was going to be boys only. I guess casting was looking to find, quote, the juiciest gym rats and tannest fist pumpers the tri-state area and beyond had to offer. But they ended up opening their search to women. And that's really when they decided to go co-ed with it. So this Vulture article is incredible. I'm going to be referencing it pretty heavily in this episode because they interviewed like everyone under the sun who was involved with Jersey Shore. And it's told through their amazing quotes. And it just sounds like this came together as almost like an accident and it turned into a cultural phenomenon. So Doran Ofer, he is the casting director. I apologize if I am butchering that name. But he confirmed that the situation was the first to be cast. Sally Ann Salzano, she's the executive producer of Jersey Shore. We're also going to be referencing Sally Ann a lot in this episode. But she recalled Mike's The Situations interview. He apparently walked in and he was like, let me just take my shirt off first. What? And Sally apparently was so taken aback by that. She was like, I have never in my life met someone who felt more comfortable upon not knowing you. And apparently he just like took off his shirt and was like, enough said, right? Like, what? And Sally Ann, who's an executive producer, she has casted so many of these reality shows, right? Like VH1 was pretty ahead of the curve with a lot of these reality shows. So was MTV. They had like the same guy in charge of all the programming across MTV and VH1. So she's seen a lot of things in her day in casting. And she was like, that was the first time anyone's really done that. So immediately the situation is in.
Can I ask a quick question about him? Was he introduced to us as The Situation or was that a nickname that came along in the show?
So funny thing about nicknames, which we'll get to, but
Okay.
he was introduced, I believe he introduced himself as the situation. And I saw somewhere in an article that he got that nickname because he was at a club one night and some girl like complimented his physique and like that was the term that was in the article, his physique. And it caused a situation between the girl and her boyfriend. So he started to refer to himself as the situation because he's so good looking. He's going to cause a situation everywhere he goes.
Oh my gosh, that is kind of what I expected. Amazing.
Right? I remember everyone had a crush on him in season 1. He was kind of like the breakout star. If I had to pick one, I was not really into any of the cast members in Jersey Shore. But like if I had to pick one, I was Team Vinny. But my favorite cast member was Nicole, aka Snooki. So let's talk about her audition. She apparently saw a post on Facebook for a show called Guidos and Guidettes. She said, quote, I went there drunk because it was at a bar and the rest is history. This girl is crazy. So the casting director, again, back to Doran, he said that Nicole showed up in a miniskirt and she literally did cartwheels and flips and that she was just extraordinary. He said her application was smudged with fingerprints from her bronzer to the point that it was like, what happened to her application? What spilled on it? And honestly, as someone who discovered bronzer at the ripe old age of 15 years old, like I have to relate to that.
Yeah, that's funny.
That just cracks me up. So back to your question about the nicknames. It seemed like everyone on the show had a nickname. Did you ever have a nickname growing up, Mary?
Nothing like this. Did you?
Did you have one though?
No, like just like shortened versions of my name.
Like
you know,
Mare?
Yeah, or Gags.
That's a good one.
It depends.
People would say my first and last name together always. Like I was a full name. Yeah. Nobody ever called me a nickname. Like even in college, I was 2 names.
So they wouldn't call you like Kels.
Some people call me Kels, but I wouldn't even consider that like a nickname.
I know.
Like Snooki. How do you get to Snooki from
that's
like the situation? Like mine would be weird girl who likes Backstreet Boys too much. Like, that would be my nickname if anyone had to give me one. Well, let's talk about the nicknames on Jersey Shore because that was a thing. Apparently nobody called Nicole Snooki before this show. She had like one friend that randomly would call her Snooki. Like they just had like a little pet name for each other. And apparently on the application, they were looking for nicknames. So she just put it down because she was like, I thought it was funny. Well, it's stuck. Now everyone in the world knows you as Snooki. And I just thought that was hilarious. Any first impressions on Snooki that you can remember from back in the day?
Small.
She was only 4'9".
Oh my God. That's even smaller than I expected.
Right? Teeny tiny. I actually saw her in real life. I was at Fashion Week a couple years ago. There's this brand that does a kids fashion show every year. And Snooki and JWoww were sitting in the row in front of me because their kids were walking.
Oh, that's so cute.
They were adorable. And you could tell that they were still best friends, Snooki and JWoww. Like they were having like the times of their lives. And Snooki looked incredible.
Also, something I know about Snooki is that she's a big Britney Spears fan. So I like her because of that.
So Snooki stands all the way.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about DJ Pauly D, who's still very relevant as a DJ. I think he lives in Vegas. Yeah. Why didn't we see him at the Sphere? When we go back to Vegas to see the concert again, manifesting, maybe we should ping DJ Pauly D, see if he wants to sit down with us.
That would be an idea.
Amazing. So DJ Pauly D was apparently in Rhode Island just doing his little DJ thing when he got a message on MySpace. So Snooki discovers the show from Facebook. DJ Pauly D discovers it through MySpace. I mean, what a time.
Wow.
What a time to be alive. And he got this message that said like, oh, we really like your look for this potential show. And then this casting director called him and said, we want to come film a day in your life. And he was like, well, what do you want me to do? And they said, just, do what you normally do. So he said he went to the gym. He took them tanning, and then he took them to the club.
God, hopefully he did laundry too.
That was left out of the sequence, but I mean, the only thing I remember from watching Jersey Shore for the first time was, oh my God, is that what being 21 is going to be like? Like I'm going to do gym, tanning, and like go to a club every night.
That's what I did in college. So, I mean, kind of.
So Doran, our casting director, again, we're going to talk about him a lot. He said what put Pauly D at the top of the list instantly was that he had his own tanning booth at his house. And he was like, a tanning booth is like $10,000. Like, who is saving up $10,000 and then buying a tanning booth with it? So I just thought that was hilarious. So let's talk about Angelina. I kind of forget about her, I'm sorry to say. But she was kind of iconic for her own reasons. Angelina said she was at a nightclub and a casting director approached her about being in a show. And she said during her interview that somebody asked her, what would you do if you were living in a house with 4 hot tan Guidos? And she said, quote, I'd put whipped cream all over their bodies and lick it off. I'm doing the off because I know that's how they talk. And that the camera guy just started dying. And I mean, that's who you look for when you're casting a TV show about rambunctious 20-somethings, like living it up over the summer, right? But like these people were like who you'd expect a TV character to be, but they weren't playing any role. They were just like being themselves. Let's talk about JWoww. So she was working at a nightclub in Long Island. And she remembers that there was, again, a casting call for this VH1 show called Paris Hilton's My New BFF. Do you remember that show, Mary?
I do, I think, actually. Yes.
Amazing. So apparently JWoww's best friend wanted to be casted on Paris Hilton's My New BFF so badly. And he kept trying out, not getting on, trying out again. And she was like, listen, I'll try out with you at my club. Okay. But then a couple weeks later, they reach out to JWoww and they're like, we really would love you for this show. It's called Number One Guido. So like we have Guidos and Guidettes. Now we have Number One Guido. Like what is going on with all of the names of these shows? I wonder if they just like threw a bunch of test names out there to throw people off so they couldn't like leak it to the press or something.
A lot of working titles.
So JWoww was another one of those who had like an amazing nickname. And she got her nickname because at the clubs, one of her friends was an MC. And I guess every time she would walk by him, he would go, wow, on the microphone, like to embarrass her a little bit. And it eventually became Jenny Wow and then shortened to JWoww. And wow, I love that. That feels like organic and fun. I remember thinking she was so beautiful.
Yeah, she was really pretty.
So pretty. And I loved her voice. Mm-hmm. Like I would not mess with JWoww.
No, scary.
Let's talk about Ronnie. Ronnie was at a nightclub doing a share house with his friends in Belmar, New Jersey. And he said that he just remembers acting like a complete crazy person during his interview. He took his shirt off. He was fist pumping, really leaning into it. So obviously he had to get casted immediately. And then we come to Sweet Vinny. And he apparently filled out the application as a joke. And he was like, I don't look like your typical Guido. I remember being like, he's like so pale. Like, and he didn't have like the hair, but maybe that's why he was one of my favorites. He seemed like kind of shy and quiet. And I was kind of like, what are you doing here? Like, I feel like you don't fit. So he was kind of a nice compliment to all of the big, huge personalities in the house. And Vinny said when he stepped foot into this share house that he, quote, felt like an alien landing in Guido land. He's from Staten Island, by the way. I guess he was like, I know this was a whole fad like a few years ago, dressing like that, doing your hair like that. But lo and behold, I walk in and I see Pauly D with his giant blowout. And he's like, wow, okay, they found the last Guido that remains in history. Like, this is going to be a long summer. But Vinny and DJ Pauly D ended up becoming best friends. And their friendship is like one of my favorite parts of this TV show. I remember reading in this article that even Snooki was like questioning if Vinny was a fit for the show because she said, quote, he was pale and didn't tan.
Immediate strikes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what was going on behind the scenes because as Kelsey said, this show was originally supposed to be on VH1 and it made a little jump ski to MTV. So the executive at the time, he was overseeing both MTV and VH1, and he made this decision to move the show to MTV, which I think Kelsey would agree was the right decision because it didn't really seem to fit on VH1 with their programming at the time. But that did impact the casting that we were just discussing. With the show going to MTV, they wanted to make it a little bit younger And so they kind of started swapping people out. Ultimately, Vinny and Ronnie were brought in after the show made the jump from VH1 to MTV. I'm wondering if that's why there were so many working titles. Maybe one was like a VH1 title, one was an MTV, like.
Such a good point.
But for the casting process, MTV Network's president, Van Toffler, said that they were looking for candor, honesty, boldness, and a very combustible, chaotic mess. You could honestly say none of these people were traditionally beautiful, which is an interesting quote because, I mean, it's not they weren't traditionally beautiful. They were just a stark departure from what we were seeing in like Laguna Beach or The Hills. And that's because this show was a deliberate departure from the polished, image-conscious cast of previous MTV reality shows. Now, MTV programming executive Tony DeSanto felt that after The Hills, they wanted to go for a more authentic approach. As we all know now, The Hills was pretty like scripted and set up. It wasn't real.
Did you see Kelly Laguna Biatch's stories about that today?
I don't know. What was it?
It was about how scripted was The Hills really? Because she has interviewed like Jason and some other cast members who say like the first couple seasons were really not scripted at all. It was really when Kristen joined that like by season 3 and up that things seemed to feel a little bit more scripted, more produced. But I thought it was interesting that there's some ambiguity there. Are people saying it was scripted because they don't like how they behave? Like, I don't know. It seems like there's some question.
Because I feel like Alex Merle, when she came on, kind of made it seem like they were told what to do and what conversations to have and, where to go to have those conversations and stuff. But who knows anymore?
And it could all just be your own personal perception, too. Like, I would have had this conversation whether the cameras were there or not,
Yeah. Bottom line, according to MTV, they wanted to go more authentic, like a documentary. But let's take it back a few steps because this was not always MTV's specialty. They were not always this reality TV show mecca. And people often refer to the golden years of MTV being 81 to 1992. And that's when MTV was just straight up playing music videos 24/7. That was their content. Ironically, 1992 is when The Real World started. And I mean, that is the first true reality program. But why this shift in 1992? So executives started to realize that if there's a video that fans like, they're more likely to stay on the channel. Like, okay, that makes sense. That tracks with my behavior. And they also realized, but if there's a video that fans don't like, then they're more likely to move off the channel. And as simple as it sounds, they realized they needed to come up with some more original programming to, keep viewers, particularly after the YouTube launch in 2005. YouTube had on-demand access to music videos. So that really was, trouble for MTV if they just wanted to stick into this music video world. So the day that they aired the pilot episode for The Real World, MTV's ratings went up 3 times compared to what it was before that. So they were like, we must be going in the right direction. So Real World set the stage, Laguna Beach, the foundation, The Hills perfected, this reality TV formula. And experts say the Jersey Shore established the template for quote unquote authentic reality programming that prioritized genuine drama over scripted storylines, allegedly. So, to make a long story a little less long, that is kind of how and why Jersey Shore ended up on MTV. So once the show had its home, they went out into the field.
They needed to find a home for the people.
Jersey Shore. Yes, they needed to take the cast to the Jersey Shore. So they decided on Seaside Heights, which is in Ocean County, New Jersey. And the casting directors and production team apparently said it was like zebras in the Serengeti. We wanted to see this in action. So they wanted to see the cast in their natural habitat, the Jersey Shore. I mean, that makes total sense with this direction that they're taking their programming, with, the cast that they casted. Seaside Heights gets crazy busy during the summer. The year-round population of 3,000 swells to more than 60,000 in the summer. The production team went out and found a 6-bedroom house, and apparently Sally, an executive producer, recalls the art director doing site visits, and he said, quote, "I saw this duck phone. It's so ridiculous. We cannot leave that in the house. It doesn't make sense," end quote. Well, as we all know, the duck phone obviously made it in. Sally said when the show started, and she was like, oh my God, we left the duck phone in there. And now the duck phone is the national symbol of the Jersey Shore.
I mean, I remember thinking about that duck phone. Like, are they in a hunting lodge? Like, are ducks just really common in the Jersey Shore? Like, I did not understand it whatsoever, but it is absolutely something that just grounds me in that house now. Like, I cannot think of Jersey Shore without thinking of the duck phone. Okay, what do we have next? So we have our cast done. We have our location. We're ready to shoot, but now it's time to film and like make the magic happen, right? Zebras in the Serengeti, to quote our girl Sally Ann. Well, Jenny JWoww, she recalled just like having no idea what they were signing up for. So kind of like how everyone got their own name of the show they were doing, it seemed like they all had a different idea of what they were really walking into. She said that the process itself was just really secretive. She basically walked into a hotel in Jersey, gave them her cell phone, her credit card, her ID, her wallet, keys to her car. And they're like, okay, well, if you get picked, you'll be home in 5 weeks. If you're not picked, you can go home in a few days.
Wow.
2 days later, they're like, here's the directions to the house. We'll see you there. Vinny, on the other hand, said that he thought he'd be filming for something like a True Life series that we all loved on MTV. Like True Life, I Spend My Summers at the Shore, which would be like a half-hour TV special.
Right.
Not like a television show that would define a decade. Meanwhile, Snooki had this like all-encompassing guilt because she was skipping her veterinary technician courses at home to go do this show that she had like no idea what she was doing. Well, we have to mention this iconic moment when Angelina rolls up to the house with all of her shit in garbage bags, and she tries to defend herself by saying that the cast just didn't get a ton of time to prepare. Like, we all remembered her walking up to that house and being like, do you not own a suitcase? So she said, they really didn't give me too much notice that I was going. So I was like, oh crap, what am I going to put my stuff in? I literally just took my stuff and threw all of it in garbage bags. I drove down to Seaside and I walked in the house with garbage bags. I'll never live that one down, but hey, she will absolutely never live that one down. They were all like, who is this girl? And why does she not own a tote bag? So they're all kind of like not having any idea what they're getting themselves into. They all come in with their own sort of idea of what this show is going to be, which only makes it more interesting, right? So let's talk about once the cameras start rolling and the production itself. Apparently, production was a production. So Sally Ann, I love Sally Ann and all of the quotable quotes that she gives us. So she said, quote, the sheer amount of footage we shot on this show is unprecedented. There were 42 cameras inside the house, inside the Shore store, which was the t-shirt store on the Shore boardwalk. Say that 5 times fast, that they all worked on, and the boardwalk. She said, in Seaside, we had them up and down the boardwalk, down to the Ferris wheel. We literally wired the entire town. Polly recalled that the only time that they were allowed to be off camera was when they were in the bathroom. But if you're in the bathroom with somebody else, quote, they say 2 is a party, so they film it. And he remembered that the cast would take really long showers, like just to get away from the cameras for a little break, which is understandable. But it sounds like despite all of the cameras being everywhere, up and down the boardwalk, 42 cameras planted across Seaside Heights, despite these amazing personalities all coming together under one roof, that the producers were terrified that the show was boring at first. Queen Sally said, quote, at first I remember panicking in the control room. I'm like, for fuck's sake, all I have is 4 guys getting their goddamn laundry done, going to the gym and tanning. That's not a TV show. She said that they were writing on a dry erase board, trying to come up with storylines, right? So she said, we were like, okay, so-and-so went here, so-and-so went there. And every day they'd write gym, tanning, laundry. And then they got lazy and they just started writing GTL. So they kind of created one of the hit phrases for the show that it would become known for. Even now, people say gym, tan, laundry.
Gym, tanning, laundry. You're welcome to come with us.
Gym, tanning, laundry. Gym, tanning, laundry. Every day since I got here.
So there's a couple other catchphrases that made it really big on this show, too. We have to talk about them. One of them was the term grenade.
So I was like, we got grenades, man.
And I think people look back on this show and we're like, wow, that would never fly today. This is one of those things. Polly explained it as when you're meeting girls, there's always one friend that's great, And there's always the other, using his words, unattractive friend. So we call her the grenade. The reason we call her a grenade is because she always blows up at the end of the night. They're always like, I don't have anybody to meet, so I want to go home. I don't know how much it could fly anymore. You better be careful nowadays on television because people are more sensitive. Again, those are his words. But that makes more sense to me. I think that term came to mean someone who was unattractive just in general. Like, oh, I don't want to talk to her. Like, she's ugly. And Vinny in this Vulture article wanted to clarify this stance that, you know, it really took on sort of a meaning of its own. But the original definition of how they would use that term grenade is when you're hanging out with a girl, she has a friend, and you need your friend to entertain the other friend. You basically need a wingman, whether or not you're attracted to her. You just have to sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your night so your friend can go get lucky with this person that they're into. And he's trying to say it could be any looking person. They don't have to be unattractive. It just means you're not necessarily into them, but you're going to be a good wingman. But even people who didn't watch that show, I feel like the term grenade became something that people would just use every day. Another term that came from this show was t-shirt time.
T-shirt, everybody knows it's t-shirt time.
Do you remember them all being like, t-shirt time? It means it's time to go to the bar. Better get your t-shirt on. That one was new. Another Snooki-ism that I remember is when she walked into the house, the first thing she says is, party's here.
Hello, party's here.
And I feel like people still say that to this day. That's like a millennial like siren call. And another one that they all said, cabs are here.
Hold on. I think the cabs are here.
Cabs are here! Cabs are here, bro! Cabs are here! Cabs are here!
I mean, that just speaks for itself. If I only had a nickel in college, because this was back when we actually had to call a phone number to a cab company, give them our address, and like pray that they would show up. I think I was the last one standing in my apartment whose phone hadn't been blacklisted by the cab company, because if you called them, they showed up and you weren't there, they'd block your number.
Oh my God.
That was like the original Uber rating. Like, did the cab company block you or not?
I remember trying to get a cab from BC and it was like
Impossible.
Uber changed the game.
Remember trying to get a cab at Harvard?
Oh, yeah.
In Boston, cabs were not allowed to pick up people across the river. You could only be picked up by a Cambridge cab. But then they would lie and say they never took credit cards, so you had to have cash. They'd like keep rolling and have their windows down like an inch and be like, where you going? And you'd have to just try to like jump into the moving vehicle to get home. That was crazy. I can't believe we dealt with that.
I can't believe we survived it, honestly. So
But we did.
What was also crazy about this was they weren't making like the big money when they were putting their lives up in front of the cameras for all of us to see. Vinny said that they did the first season for nothing, $0, except whatever they made working at the shore store. And remember, they were selling t-shirts on the boardwalk, making money, which is probably minimum wage at best. And Vinny and Ronnie apparently told production during the first week, listen, I think we have to leave. We don't have any money. And Vinny had just graduated college. He didn't have a job. Like, they were not pulling in reality TV money at that time. Ronnie was doing real estate at the time, so he was making real estate calls on the duck phone. He would say, like, hey, do you consent to being recorded? I'm on a TV show. Like, can you imagine?
The fact that he was actually working a job while working in that house is like insane to me. But it was just interesting to hear how they were so young. Like, they were all living at home when they started the show. Like, they really had very little like life experience, it seems like. And the fact that they worked at this t-shirt store throughout some of the seasons was like mind-blowing. Do you remember The Real World? They had jobs.
Yeah.
It's like so funny because I feel like now on reality TV shows, people just pretend to have jobs, or their job is the show.
Yeah, because they make enough money by doing the show.
And the next season, when they were bona fide celebrities, they had them work at like a pizza shop. They always had a job. So I just thought that was so interesting, and it added another layer.
In this Vulture article that Kelsey found, they interviewed Danny Mark, who's the t-shirt store owner, and he gave a review of the cast's work ethic. He said, quote, Mike sucked. Mike worked hard at not working. And Nicole sucked. Her best year was when she was pregnant because she was sober and she didn't have a hangover. Vinny was always trying to pick up an extra shift. Jenny and Sammy, I would always put them on the register because they were great. Jenny was a fantastic upseller. She'd bully people into buying things. Like, that is so funny. Wait, have we not talked about Sammy at all?
Not yet. And the reason why we haven't talked about Sammy is because she does not want to be associated with this TV show.
Okay.
There's like major beef between her and the rest of the cast members. But you're right. I totally neglected to mention her at all. Sammy Sweetheart, the nicest bitch you'll ever meet.
Sammy and Ron, right?
We're going to talk about that anonymous letter from season 2.
But sorry, I'm taking us on tangents. Back to the t-shirt store owner and getting their reviews. JWoww, he said, did great because she would always bully people into buying things. And she said, quote, I'm a daughter of a used car salesman. I honestly would not let customers check out unless they bought a shot glass for $5. I gave no options, end quote. So, I mean, that's good business.
I'm obsessed with her. It's so funny to me that they worked at this t-shirt store. So they're working, they do this TV show. No one knows what they're walking into. The show airs and it absolutely blows up. But there was immediate backlash. I mean, Jersey Shore just became one of those things like Tiger King. Like you watched it because you loved it or you watched it because you hated it and you were like kind of grossed out, but you couldn't look away. There was immediate backlash that came as a consequence of season 1, most notably from the Italian American community who had a lot of concerns about stereotyping. And that's, of course, totally fair. There were a lot of concerns around the term Guido and Guidette specifically because some people view them as derogatory terms for working class Italian Americans. But the show kind of made that term like more of a badge of honor, like less of that derogatory use. I think is something that we saw, that cultural shift. And in response to some of the criticisms about these stereotypes, in an interview with the New York Times, Sally Ann, our girl again, she said, you know, I was that girl, just like the kids on this TV show. I lived at home until I was 25 years old. She said that it's this like East Coast mentality. It's the Italian upbringing. Like, why would you leave? My brother lived at home until he was 32, until he got married. Like, it's just not that weird. And she said it was so interesting getting criticism as the show was airing from Italian Americans because she was like, listen, quote, I remember this year going home for Christmas. Episode 3 had just aired with Snooki and all the drama. Side note, we're going to talk about that soon. Back to the quote. She said, every single member of my family was going like, oh my God. And I remember looking around the Christmas table and saying to myself, if only a reporter were here now. Everyone's screaming. There's enough food to feed 4 countries. All the stereotypes that people accused us of making. I'm thinking, everyone looks like that to me. 2 of my uncles are in Puma sweatsuits. I have 4 guys named Sal at the table. I'm Sally Ann. It's not weird to me.
That's so
and
funny.
I just thought that was so funny. Imagining the Puma sweatsuit.
I can picture it.
So I kind of love that Sally Ann is like standing on business. Like, I don't think this is a stereotype because this is my family. This is my lived experience as an Italian American. So they're not playing characters. They're real people who are just playing themselves. But we have to talk about that episode 3 drama because 11 national advertisers ended up pulling their advertising from Jersey Shore. And the first was Domino's Pizza. So Tim McIntyre, he is the exec VP of comms for Domino's. He said that the morning after MTV aired the first episode of Jersey Shore, their third-party media buyer told MTV that the content just wasn't right for the Domino's brand. So they requested to pull all airing for future episodes, and they had not been given a chance to review the content ahead of time. Obviously, you know, if they had, they would have said no before it ever hit air. But one of their objections was when Snooki got punched in episode 3. Obviously, Domino's, no brand, no person should ever condone that kind of behavior against anyone. And so the Domino's comms guy, he's like, obviously we couldn't support that kind of programming with our advertising dollars, which is very fair. He said in his statement, we do not consider men hitting women to be entertainment. I would have done the exact same thing in their shoes. But let's talk about this moment. I mean, this was a huge deal. And a lot of people argue that this was the moment that catapulted Jersey Shore into the cultural conversation because it was such a controversy. It was awful. I rewatched one of the clips and I wish I didn't because it just makes me so sad. Snooki's at the bar. She's kind of like telling this guy off. And out of nowhere, he just sucker punches her right in the face. And MTV aired it. So Jacqueline French, she was one of the producers. She said the punch did air once. It aired in the Super Tease at the end of episode 2. And there was some backlash out in the world. And we talked about it internally to decide whether or not we wanted to show a woman getting punched in the face. We don't want to pretend it didn't happen. We ended up showing everything that led up to it and then showing the aftermath. But they dipped to black at the point where he actually made contact with her face. But they still showed it. Like there are YouTube clips of the punch like landing in her face. And Snooki claims that it was her father who demanded MTV not show the footage. And she believes that they listened to him. And, you know, again, this is only a few episodes into season 1. Like we were still kind of getting to know the characters. We were still warming up to Snooki in general. Like I remember the housemates really not liking her at first. And there was some tense drama. But this episode and the punch was all anyone could talk about. It made national news and it made the housemates be like, what the hell? Like they all banded together in defense of Snooki. So this was a huge moment for the show. It's really awful if you want to give it credit for being the reason why the show popped off. I wish I never watched the clip again because, ugh. Meanwhile, Michael Carbone, who owns the bar where the punch took place, this was his reaction to the punch. He said in this Vulture article, quote, "For years, I had a Snooki chair where she was sitting that night. Everybody would come in and sit in the Snooki chair. So even that became like a fucked up piece of pop culture history that people wanted a photo op of."
Insane. Oh my God.
So the show is huge. There's this backlash, but the cast, we can't deny they're becoming these instant cultural icons before season 1 even wraps. Barbara Walters included the cast on her 2010 list of most fascinating people. They were subjects in a South Park episode. The owner of the house, whoever rents the house for the summer, recalled people visiting his house like it was a museum. They would like take photos there and like be fist pumping in the front yard. Vinny said, quote, "Back then, Facebook was everything. I remember the night of the premiere, I had like 80 requests. I was like, oh my God, 80 Facebook requests. This is crazy." Well, Vinny, it's about to get crazier because our girl Snooki recalled partying with Leonardo DiCaprio and Lindsay Lohan after doing a Jimmy Kimmel appearance. She said all the celebrities were coming up to them saying, "I love your show," saying GTL, doing shots with them. And she was like, that was her when they popped moment. Like that was when we knew we were a big deal because even celebrities knew who they were. JWoww, this is crazy. Remembered somebody telling her that President Obama mentioned them in a speech. Obviously, I had to dig into this. Upon further investigation, I discovered via a New York Times profile on Snooki that Obama referenced Snooki's dark tan because of a proposed tanning bed tax. And then Senator John McCain tweeted at Snooki saying, "I do wreck wearing sunscreen!" exclamation point. I mean, it was captivating. They were everywhere. It was kind of like Love Island last summer. Like you couldn't get away whether you watched it or not. Everyone was talking about Jersey Shore. I mentioned that New York Times profile on Snooki, and it came out in 2010. It named Snooki the breakout star of the series. And I have to agree, it was her and Mike, the Situation, who I think just like kind of showed up everywhere. And this article said, quote, "If you were to draw a cartoon of her, you would know immediately who she is." That's a quote from Chris Lynn, the executive VP for pilots at MTV. He said she's an icon. You can't argue with that. And within this whole New York Times profile piece, again, this came out in 2010, this reporter is trying to understand, like, what is so magnetic? What is so appealing about Snooki? And I found this particular passage to be very funny. He said, quote, "This still doesn't address Snooki's strange appeal. And part of the problem is that she can't explain it herself. She simply isn't capable of serious introspection. She told me she has read only 2 books in her life, Twilight and Dear John." When we were in the kitchen at her dad's house, I asked Snooki if she were inspired by any movie actresses. "Movies?" she said thickly. "I really liked Brittany Murphy. Yeah, I looked up to her. She had a dorky personality like me. It was sad that she died." End quote. I'm obsessed that she's obsessed with Brittany Murphy.
Good taste.
Good taste. But it was like a fascination with Jersey Shore led to it becoming this thing. And then people were fascinated with the fascination of Jersey Shore.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Doran. I remember he's the show's casting director. And he said that Jersey Shore was the #1 show in Asia. And it was called Macaroni Rascals.
What? How?
I don't know.
Why?
Again, that's from that Vulture article. It's just so good. You guys have to read it. Like, I was laughing out loud.
So
like,
many questions.
so, like, why is it called macaroni rat? Like, how does that translate? Who knows? But even the house itself became this icon. Okay, Michael Lowndes, he's the one who owns the house. And he said that this show was just a huge fiscal injection for the area. I mean, everybody in Seaside Heights around the Jersey Shore was up 20%. And he said they're still renting Jersey Shore House, the Jersey Shore House, at a very aggressive $1,200 a night. $1,200 a night to stay in that house. And he said, like, up until 10 years after the show premiered, they're getting multiple calls a day, people asking for availability. They have pictures of grandmothers fist pumping at the front door. It's insane. Let's talk about the cultural impact of season 1, because I remember in college, one of the first theme parties I ever went to was a Jersey Shore theme party.
Me too. Me too.
Did you do a poof? What was your take on the Jersey Shore theme?
I had a pink trucker hat that said Lil Wayne for president. And I had like a black shirt with rips on it. And I wore like a leopard bra so you could see it through the black shirt with the rips in it. And then like jean shorts.
Yep.
What about you?
The bright colored animal print was like such a thing. I put on way too much bronzer. I did like a really dark smoky eye, but like a bad smoky eye, like just black eyeshadow.
Love that.
With like a really aggressive wing. It was almost teetering on like Amy Winehouse cosplay now that I think about it, because I had like the really big poof and everything too.
That party also like killed me. Like I just feel like those parties went extra hard for whatever reason.
I know. It was wild. It might have been sophomore year. But yes, so if this came out in December 2009, so this was 2010.
Yeah.
When we were really leaning into the theme parties. Or maybe it was the second half of freshman year. I don't know. But all I remember is one of my first ever like sorority parties was Jersey Shore themed. And I was like, oh, I wish I still had all my Ed Hardy stuff. But by then, like the Abercrombie and Fitch was not cool to wear. Ed Hardy was not cool to wear. All these things are very cool to wear today. So it's kind of funny that just 15 years ago, it was so out. But, you know, getting spray tans was so normalized. The tight dresses wearing club wear is like mainstream fashion. But also what the show did for male grooming. I mean, those men took care of their appearance. They took care of their eyebrows. They spent a lot of time on their hair, their physique, to bring that word back, their skincare. So I feel like that normalized it, which is a positive thing. Also, Mary, do you remember the theme song? Get crazy, get wild.
Get crazy, get wild, let's party, get loud.
I mean, LMFAO was just huge at this time in general.
So one of the guys from LMFAO was even quoted in this article, the Vulture article. Guys, I'm obsessed with this article. And he was like, I feel like people didn't even know it was an LMFAO song.
Maybe not.
So that was season 1. I feel like I stopped watching after season 1 because we were in college and like I just wasn't watching TV as much. But there's one moment that I really want to talk about. So season 2, they went to Miami. And I thought that was kind of an interesting choice. Like, why would you take them out of Jersey Shore?
Like, you don't take the fish out of the pond.
Right. They took them to Miami instead. But we got something that people still talk about today. And that was when Ron cheats on Sam, Sammy's sweetheart. And Nicole Snooki writes this anonymous letter to Sam telling her about the cheating, you know, that night at bed.
The first night at bed, when you left crying, Ron made out with 2 girls and put his head in between a cocktail waitress's breasts.
Now looking back on it, Snooki is like, you know, I wish I stayed out of it because like it's not my business, whatever. But she and Jenny felt at the time as girlfriends that they wanted to tell Sammy that Ron was cheating on her. So they got this idea to print a letter, which was written in all caps. And you see Snooki at like this computer lab room, like typing up this letter in all caps. And it's just so funny. So Jenny told Snooki what to type. Snooki types the whole thing out. She's
Is that the meme where she's like typing and it's like me sending a letter to like, oh my God, that's so funny.
I have it. Let me read it off. Should we do a dramatic reading of it? Sam, the first night at bed when you left, Ron made out with 2 girls and put his head in between a cocktail waitress's breasts. Also was grinding with multiple fat women. Don't like that language. When you left crying at Clutch, Ron was holding hands and dancing with a female and took down her number. Multiple people in the house know, therefore you should know the truth. That's what the letter.
Honestly, a good friend, though.
So they thought, right? But they thought Sam wouldn't know it was them because they didn't have access to phones or computers or printers like inside the house, right? They had to go to like some computer lab somewhere and print it out. They were hoping that if she found it, she would think that like it was maybe a producer, just like giving her like a wink and a nod. But the producers were like, nope, it wasn't us. It was one of your roommates. And then the drama became that Sam was mad at them for writing the letter instead of being mad that Ron was cheating on her.
I mean, maybe the delivery wasn't perfect, but I think they did the right thing. I don't know.
That's girl's girl, right? But they should have sat her down and just been like, listen, everyone knows this. Like, this is what's going on. But that letter, Snooki typing will forever be ingrained in my... I don't even remember seeing the episode, but we've seen the memes so much.
Oh, I know. I love that meme. I've definitely used that meme. But don't worry. The fish were brought back to the pond after season 2. For season 3, they went back to Seaside Heights. And by now, they were full-blown celebrities. The production team remembers having anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 people just following them around while they were filming and waiting in line at the shore store to go shopping with them. And production would have to be like, act normal. They're actually working. Like, this is not set up. And it was just always so funny. They're making like so much money from just doing the show and being themselves, but they still worked as legit employees at this t-shirt shop. Like they had a real job that they had to report to. And I mean, according to local reports, by this point, Mike the Situation made more than $5 million in 2010, the second highest of any other reality star after Kim Kardashian, just through brand endorsements and going on Dancing with the Stars. And Danny, we've quoted him before, that owns a t-shirt store they worked at, said Danny himself was also making a killing on selling Jersey Shore themed merch because you got to sell the merch. Merch is where the money is, baby. Danny said, quote, out of the sayings from the TV show, "Yeah, buddy" was on fire. I sold so much "Yeah, buddy" merchandise, especially when Paulie was inside the store.
Yeah, buddy.
Come at me, bro was on fire.
Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. Come at me. I'm right here. I'm right on the move. Come at me, bro.
And t-shirt time.
Right before we go out, we take off the tank, and then we put on our fresh shirt.
It's t-shirt time. It's t-shirt time. Everybody knows it's t-shirt time.
T-shirt time.
Those 3 plus, I'm the sweetest bitch you'll ever meet.
I'm the sweetest bitch you'll ever meet, but do not with me.
And don't fall in love at the Jersey Shore.
My only rule, never fall in love at the Jersey Shore. Never.
That's a classic saying no matter what, end quote. So they were selling shirts with their famous catchphrases on it, and people were buying that up. But it isn't all amazing because in 2011, Mike, the Situation, was actually offered $10,000 to not wear any Abercrombie and Fitch clothes. A spokesman from the company explained that, quote, Mr. Sorrentino's association with our brand could cause significant damage to our image, end quote. Yikes. And in November 2011, Mike filed a lawsuit against Abercrombie after they made shirts that read, "The Fituation" and GTL, you know the deal, which is crazy because, like, after their
Right.
like, I mean, pick a side and stick with it. But everyone thought it was crazy because the case was dismissed anyway. So it never went to trial because that makes no sense. So there was some people that were still not sure if they wanted to be associated with the Jersey Shore, but it's like they couldn't help it because it was such a big cultural phenomenon that they had to jump on it.
Also, the Fituation is kind of iconic.
I know. I mean, whoever came up with that is
If you have one
great.
laying around, I'll buy it from you.
Kelsey is interested. So season 4 is when they all went to Italy, which honestly, I like that better than them going to Miami. Like, Italy makes more sense.
Right. And like none of them had ever been to Italy before.
Oh my God. So it was a huge culture shock for them, but neither Kelsey and I were still tuned into Jersey Shore at this point. It was also around this time that Mike has since revealed that he was struggling with a drug addiction. He claimed that he spent over $500,000 on drugs. And this was a little bit later, but just to touch what was going on with Mike, it was not all sunshine and roses for him for a while. Him, along with his brother, Mark, were accused of tax fraud, including concealing income and making cash deposits under $10,000 to avoid reporting requirements with the IRS. He and his brother were accused of filing falsified tax returns on nearly $9 million in income. Mike was convicted, and he received 8 months in prison, 2 years of supervised release, 500 hours of community service, a $10,000 fine, and $123,000 due in restitution. That seems like pretty heavy. Like, I wonder if they were trying to make an example out of him a little bit. But luckily, I think he seems to be doing better in life now, just based on what I know. But so back to Jersey Shore, seasons 5 and 6, they're back in Jersey. And it's in season 6 when Snooki gets engaged and she gets pregnant with her first child. She said, quote, "It was nice to be able to say I was part of the last season, but I didn't actually want to do the show. I was like, listen, I'm pregnant. I don't want to be in that house. It's filthy. Everyone's going to be drinking. I've always wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to go about it the safest, healthiest way. Obviously, MTV and the roomies wanted me to do it, so they got me a separate house right next door, which is nice. I didn't really do much. I just sat in my room the entire time. I was in mom mode, ready to change my entire life, and I didn't want to be around the party scene at that time," end quote. So we were able to see in that last season, Snooki really kind of change her life and embrace motherhood. And once the original Jersey Shore ended, we got a ton of MTV spinoffs featuring the iconic cast. We got the Pauly D Project, Snooki and JWoww, and the show with Vinny. Then in 2018, the group came back together for the Jersey Shore Family Vacation. It premiered in 180 countries to record-breaking ratings.
Where was I? I was
missed
not
it.
watching.
Yes, but a lot of people seemed to miss the gang and was happy to see them get back together. But let's be real, the Jersey Shore itself was lightning in a bottle, and it's been remade internationally 7 times. Like, everybody's tried to make their version of the Jersey Shore. You know, we had UK's Geordie Shore, Floribama Shore was also inspired by the Jersey Shore. So what was it about the Jersey Shore? Why was it such a success? The cast and production crew thinks it's because they were authentic and relatable. Snooki said, quote, "I think we were the realest reality show. I can watch every other reality show and tell you that's not real. Someone told them to say that," end quote. Which again brings us back to our questions about the hills and Laguna Beach. But Snooki is quite positive that they were the realest of the real. Pauly D said, quote, "I have a theory. It's like music. The music that works is the music that's relatable. Like Taylor Swift songs. When you're having a breakup, you put those on because they're relatable. You want a party, you put on a Little John track. With 8 of us in the house, somebody out there is going to have something that's relatable with us. A lot of people are like, me and my friends used to get a shore house and do that every single summer. Or you used to have a girlfriend like Ronnie and Sam where you always fight but still love each other. And then there's always a party guy," end quote. So basically that someone could always find something to relate to in this group of people that came together for the Jersey Shore. Vinny said, quote, "I don't think it's a bad thing for people to see us like that, going through our 20s, being real. This is the way young kids back then would talk and make mistakes. We would call girls names where we might be like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that. It's not this sugar-coated thing where everyone is monitoring everything they're saying just so they can appease everybody," end quote. So like, you know, he's saying it's not necessarily politically correct, but it was authentic. It showed them growing and learning as people, and he thought that the public related to that. And in an article about the Jersey Shore reunion, we saw that the cast said that they have a group chat still called Just Us, We Famous Fam. Just Us, We Famous Fam.
That made me die reading that. Just Us, We Famous Fam.
And apparently the most frequently used emoji in the group text is the fax machine, as in fax.
I would give anything to look through
That's so funny.
that group chat. So for that article, I guess the reporter, they went to like Vinny's aunt's house in Staten Island and they all just like had a meal together. Sammy was not involved because she wasn't a part of the reunion show.
Right.
But it was just so funny, like hearing the little tidbits. Oh, I'm obsessed with it. Let's talk about Snooki for a little bit because I mean, I think she embodies so much about what they thought was successful about season 1, which was like the power of authenticity, right? Like you couldn't script her because what she was going to say would be 10 times crazier than what you could have asked her to say. Remember, she was obsessed with pickles. I saw somewhere that she said that she just said she liked pickles because she thought guys would like it. Funny.
Because it's like shaped like a, because of that.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Because it's
I just thought
sexual?
guys like pickles.
Oh.
Like,
I don't
oh,
know
you're
if
going to
that's
eat
a
your
guy
pickle?
thing. Is that a guy thing?
I don't know. I like pickles.
Right, me too.
That's why I found her so relatable. But there were also very like humanizing moments. Like we can never forget when she got arrested at the beach looking for the beach. She kept going, where's the beach?
I just want to go on the beach. Where's the beach? Where the is the beach? I'm so annoyed. Where's the beach?
If you've been to the Jersey Shore before, you know, like there's a long boardwalk and there's little entrances every so often. She was trying to find the entrance to the beach, but she was so wasted. All she could say was, where's the beach? Meanwhile, she's wearing, I have to describe this. She is wearing her dress from the night before. I believe she was at Karma, the nightclub that we all grew to love from watching the show. She threw a t-shirt over it, which was a hot pink zebra print. And it said in text, instant slut, just add alcohol. While getting arrested. She's wearing a bedazzled trucker hat. I mean, it's just such an iconic moment. And she has since said she has 3 children now. She's married. She met her husband while filming, which is really sweet. She said, you know, even when her children are older, they are not allowed to watch Jersey Shore.
I get that.
She said, even if they're 30, I don't want you watching that. It's weird. You know, but her kids are old enough now where they're on social media and they're seeing old clips of her and stuff. And they're like, Mommy, what are you doing here? And she's like, Mommy's a paid actress. They made me do that. So it's kind of funny that she's leaning on that. But now she's a business mogul and she's basically like a Kris Jenner. So of all the cast members, I feel like Snooki now leads a very normal, balanced life and she's doing really well. She has a podcast. She has several boutique locations online and in person. She was on Dancing with the Stars. She's written 3 books.
Wow.
They're called A Sure Thing, Confessions of a Guidette, and Gorilla Beat.
Well, we'll have to do one in a book club episode.
That would be hilarious. And, you know, that's it. I think right now you can even watch Jersey Shore. So apparently the second half of Jersey Shore Family Vacation Season 7 will land on Paramount Plus this August. And this is 15 years, you know, after the premiere of the beloved series. I think it's just so interesting because the season 8 episode of Family Vacation, according to TheWrap.com, scored the highest viewership the show has seen in 4 years. So people are still tuning in and loving it. And the series is still the #1 series across cable on Thursday nights.
Wow.
All these years later.
There's something to be said for that longevity.
Absolutely. And we have Dina and Angelina in this one.
Oh.
Sammy is not joining, I don't think.
It sounds like she's not into it.
You know, to each her own. But Jersey Shore was a lightning in a bottle. We love the moments that it gave us.
Well, Kelsey, thank you for leading us through that journey.
I will shepherd us through any 2010, early 2010s TV shows. You guys just tell us what you want to hear. DM us on When They Popped Pod on TikTok or Instagram with any episode requests. And make sure you're following us there for super fun content. And also make sure you're subscribed to our Patreon because we have some really fun episodes dropping this month that you're not going to want to miss.
Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.